clients are no longer just bringing questions to advisors. Things are changing, they are moving, and they are now bringing answers. And these answers are from AI, it's from TikTok and YouTube, and from influencers. And the advisors who handle that well are going to build deeper trust and not less. So today's episode's all about how things are changing. How do we do and how do we act and how do we handle everything that gets thrown at us, and a couple of other really important aspects. So looking forward to a great episode. Welcome to Propulsion, the weekly show for financial planners and advisors who want to build better, more successful businesses. I'm your host, Francois du Toit, and every week we dive into the practical strategies that matter, from growing your client base and improving your services to developing yourself and your team. Whether you're running your own practice or you're part of a larger firm, you are guaranteed to find actionable insights to help your business thrive. So with that, welcome, and let's get into today's episode. Today, I want to talk about something that's becoming more and more common in advice conversations. We've definitely seen this. I can see the comments on the LinkedIn post for this episode as well. That clients are, and we know this, right? That clients are getting their financial advice, or at least their input about finances, from AI and from TikTok and YouTube and influencers before they speak to the advisor. Sometimes after, they've come to see you, they go and vet what we've told them and so on. So now, whether we like that or not is not really the point. It is happening, and I think it raises a very important question for advisors and planners. Is that's how do we respond in a way that protects the trust and that adds value and that helps clients make better decisions, right? So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about this morning. And I want to start off by just maybe asking the question, why are clients turning to AI and TikTok and YouTube and influencers in the first place? Because I think it's really, really important. And I think one of the very first things is that they're not looking to replace the advisor necessarily. They're not looking to find or to replace the financial planner or the investment manager or the investment advisor or whatever it may be. They're doing it because these tools that are available to them, they are only tools. TikTok and AI and YouTube and all of these things, they are tools that are available. And a lot of times these things feel less intimidating than asking a person, And also, I've done some research about this, and it shows that clients use AI in three main ways, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I think the biggest thing is just that information is everywhere, right? It's not scarce anymore. It's easy to get a hold of. They can use these tools 24/7. And I'm going to refer to all of these things as tools because all it is it's giving them input, right? It's not really helping them synthesize and analyze and understand and contextualize and make sense of everything. It's just dumping a bunch of information on the person. I think the one tool that has the ability to contextualize things really well would be probably AI, provided that it has sufficient context. It's a different story and a different sort of thing. But it's really important that we understand that people are using these things because it's private. It feels private at very least, and it's obviously non-judgmental. We've heard this. I've told the story so many times of feedback that was given by students on a chatbot that one of the universities in the US implemented during their summer break. And they came back and they said, we loved using this AI, call it agent or AI chatbot. Why? Because it was so patient. It didn't judge me at all. It was able to explain things in very simple terms to me, etc. So these tools are really powerful, and this is why people are starting to use this more and more and more. Also, the other thing is, if you think about the TikTok world and YouTube, specifically like YouTube Shorts and things, like you get these snippets and short pieces of information around finances, which makes it feel to the person consuming this that it's really simple. It's not so difficult. It's not so complex. It breaks things down. Um, Yesterday, I was in a session where we were talking about exactly this, where we often overwhelm clients because of the amount of information that we have to share with them because of compliance. And in fact, my answer to that was, well, we need to break it down, and we need to say, like, what is really critical to talk about. Now, this is exactly what short form content is doing, and it's exactly what AI is doing. It's making it digestible to someone, and then you add on the "I don't feel judged" and it's private and this and this and well, private in inverted commas. But I think it's really important that we understand that this is why clients are turning to these tools. It's not because we don't do a good job or because they don't trust us or anything like that. It's just it's available 24/7. It's easy to use. It's digestible, and it's making them feel like this is doable, right? So this is actually a good thing, I would say. I know there's lots to be said. There was this even a whole panel discussion, I think, at the recent FSCA conference. I've seen some things about it. I've seen at the FPI conference, we sort of touched on this at the end of last year around finfluencers. And this is a problem, right? Because it's one thing to educate. It's quite another thing if you start telling people to do things and then they're in breach of the legislation. But it's a different story for a different day. I think what's really important here is to understand that clients are no longer just coming to us for answers, because I think that was a big reason. We were the gatekeepers. We were the ones that could explain, that could provide information. It's not about the information anymore. It's not about just giving answers to people. They are now starting to come to us and look to us for helping them make sense of the answers that they found somewhere else. So they're coming there prepared. Now, there's obviously lots to be said about this, and there is stuff that makes it risky for clients as well, and we all know. So, if a consumer is watching this or a client is watching this, then there are some things to be aware of when you do turn to these types of tools. But it's also important for us to understand what these risks are. In most cases, a lot of this information is generic. So it might be comprehensive, but it might still be generic. So it doesn't necessarily apply to that specific person and that specific person's circumstances. And I see this a lot. There's a lot going on online that teaches people about property and teaches them about just finances and investing in general. And everybody's making out the financial advisor or planner to be like, this is an unnecessary cost and you can cut all of this out. You can do it yourself. But the problem is with a lot of the content is that it is then still generic. There's still advice needed. You look at the questions that come through. It's evident in that. And the problem is that when you have generic information, you can't really test for suitability, right? So you can't really, if you look at the way that advice is regulated at the moment, like there is a responsibility on the authorized representative to determine suitability, whether it's a product or transaction or whatever it may be. You've got to make sure that it's suitable. And if you've got generic content, there is no way that you can say, oh, this is suitable for that person. And I don't know how many people in their own right will be able to say, oh, this is a suitable investment for me, or are they merely following the crowd and doing what everybody else is doing and not really knowing and understanding if that's the case. So that's one of the challenges. And also the other problem here is that there is no accountability, right? So when something goes wrong, there's no accountability. These people are saying, I've listened to some of these webinars and things, and they're very clear around when they say, this is not financial advice. You need to make your own decisions. You need to we're just educating you basically on this process. So they walking away from the accountability. It's been very clearly said in many different forums now that AI in itself cannot be held accountable. It is the user that is held accountable. So there's no accountability outside of the person who used this themselves. So they've got nowhere to turn when something goes wrong, or if their advice from ChatGPT or anywhere else has been wrong. Also, and this is probably one of the big issues is with finfluencers, is that in many cases, not in all, but in many cases, they may have some incentives to promote certain products and to promote certain approaches and things that they may not be disclosing to their audience. So that might be something where you don't know what's in it for the influencer. I mean, where are they making their money from? It's not just only from views and AdSense and that kind of stuff. Like, how do they build this and what are they doing? And they often obviously have courses and things off the back of that, which I think it's a great business model. And it's definitely, you are much better off at the end of that than what you were before doing that. But still, there's so much that you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And that's what makes it difficult for clients and dangerous for clients and risky as well. The other problem, particularly with AI, is that AI sounds very, very confident, right? So even when it's completely wrong or it doesn't have all the facts, it'll make up a story and yes, this is great. And even if you disagree and you ask it, oh, yeah, Francois, you're 100% right. We should have done X, Y, and Z. Let's look at that. And it will build you a new confident plan. And it's just like, yes, this is so this is it. I asked the right questions. I've got to the right answer. So that's some of the challenges that we sit with. And also for clients who act quickly and they may have all of this information, but it's maybe not relevant information. It's not strong information. It's not suitable for them. And they then take action. They can really cause some long-term damage in the process as well. So I think to sort of summarize that, I would say that the internet can give you an answer in seconds, but that does not mean it can carry the consequences of the answer, right? So go and find information, and that's great because I can actually just look at what's maybe important from that point. But then we won't be able to hold the internet responsible for that. So why advisors then still matter more than ever, in my opinion, at this point in time, is that, and this is one of the biggest benefits, and I've been telling people for the last 2-3 years that we shouldn't be positioning compliance as a burden, as paperwork. So sorry for all these signatures, but it is to protect you and me. So sorry for all of this. So sorry we're so sorry. When in fact you sit in your hands with the most powerful weapon and tool and benefit to the client, and you just need to position it like that. I mean, we work in a highly, highly regulated, about to become even more regulated through COFI. As Anton says, that's phase on steroids. But we work inside of that environment where we have phase and we have COFI and TCF and, we have codes of conduct and code of ethics and all those kinds of things. We are regulated and we have standards to which we must, or with which we must comply. We understand the impact when certain things are not taken into account. Now, I'm also going to say this out loud, that not all advisors are created equally. Not all financial planners are equal. Not even all certified financial planners are equal, because I've seen this in practice, right? So as in any other place, you get people who really does a great job and they understand everything intricately. And then you have people, and all of them do care a lot. And then you've got people who care a lot, but they maybe technically not as strong, but they've got great relationships. They still, their whole mission is to only act in the best interest of the client, do the right thing for the client within their ability, right? But at the end of the day, we can say, because you work with someone like me who's licensed, you also get all of this other protection. There's accountability. I'm accountable for what I tell you to do. I mean, that's something which human being wouldn't want somebody to go to if something goes wrong and say, but you told me to do this, right? And I would want somebody to come to me and say, but you told me to do this. Now what? This didn't work. What's the story? Whereas I must now sit and drink my coffee and feel sorry for myself because it was all self-inflicted. But that's really, really powerful. So this is why we matter as much, because we are regulated, there are standards and everything like that, and we are accountable. Also, we have full context of a client. Well, I mustn't say, just say you've got full context, right? We should have full context, but depending on where you are in the relationship with a client that's been a client for 3, 4, 5 years, yes, you've got a much fuller picture. Somebody who's just becoming a client, we only know what they are comfortable to share with us, right? And only over time do we get more and more and more context. But we are able to look at the full life picture and even notice things that, with AI, you've got to tell them. We can observe, we can see when, sort of certain things are important. AI can only work with what we tell it, right? And influencers and those kinds of people are mostly one-way communication. They just communicate with you. You don't really communicate back with them. So this is another reason why advisors are very, very useful and very, very valuable. Also, advisors balances trade-offs, not only tactics, right? So we understand that, yes, this is the best tactic, but because of what you're trying to achieve, maybe we must do, sort of compromise a little bit on the one thing, do something of the other, and it's a blend between two tactics and two strategies and things to do. It's not just one. Whereas a lot of times other people will try and tell you, this is the best course of action, and this is what you should do, and this is what I do, and this is how I build my wealth, and I. Really important that we think about that as well, and to highlight this to clients as well in our marketing, communications, etc. Like, how do I help you? What is the value that I bring to the table? Well, I can help you balance all these, because you get all these different pieces of advice. Like, how do we balance that? And how do we know which ones will work and which ones won't? And then also a very big one, as we all know, a lot of people are building their value propositions around this, is with guiding behavior. Okay, not just get this product, get that product. What we do is we really help people make decisions and stick to those decisions. And in fact, to not act when they want to act sometimes. Like, that's really what we're trying to manage. Is like they want to cash in an investment because the markets went down. So now no, don't do this, remember. And then so we help the behavior of the client, because behavior we've seen is the biggest impact, right? I'm preaching to the converted, but that's another reason why advisors are so valuable and planners are so valuable. I think there's a lot of value in human friction. In other words, having to deal with another human being, because the way that we create that friction would be through asking hard questions, difficult questions, straight up questions to clients that make them think and stop and even make them a bit uncomfortable, but all with a good intention. And that's good, right? Because then they can stop and think for a moment, because a chatbot makes it easy to move fast. Like, I just want to answer, do it in bed, 11 o'clock at night, a few answers. Okay, let me go. A good advisor is going to make it a little bit harder to make that bad decision, right? To make that move, to enter into that transaction. And it's also something to look out for. This is almost like, now I want to equate this to a what do you call it? Like a pressure salesman, right? You've got to sign, you've got to sign, you've got to sign. Like, that's sort of where the AI and everything else sits, so you can make quick decisions. But somebody who really does their job well will actually take you through a process, slow things down when they need to slow it down, etc. So then another question is, how should advisors then respond when clients bring this outside advice? I mean, you know how you feel when somebody says, oh, I went for a second opinion. This is basically what's happening here. Now we've got more people going for second opinions, because they take your document that you send them with the plan and with the notes and everything that you discussed, and puts it into AI and ask it, like, what are we missing? What do we need to see? And the one thing that you need to remember is that, maybe you think like, my people don't know how to use AI. Everybody is getting better at using AI every single day, because we are training people at work to use AI better. So they learn how to prompt, they learn about context, they learn about constraints, they learn about how to say what the output must look like. And the more they start to understand that, and the more data the AI gathers about them, the better the answers will be. So just bear that in mind as well. But when they now rock up with the second opinion, right, or even coming there with a plan, even before you've sort of met with them, etc., or it could be an existing client or a new client, doesn't matter. But at some point they rock up with, oh, but I looked at this just for interest's sake to see, and it says some things that are different, right? I think the worst thing that we can do is become defensive. That is the absolute best thing. Worst thing, not the best thing, not the best thing. The worst thing is to say, oh, no, but AI this and AI that. They doesn't know everything. And, like basically going, like sort of listing all the things I just shared with what makes an advisor better. It does not do that. And we say, no, can't rely on that, And I think the best thing that you can do is to be curious and to go like, and like I like stay curious. But be curious, and then sort of get the context and sort of let's see how these things fit together, and let's sort of see what you want to decide and what do you want to talk about and what stood out for you. Something that I really believe in, and I wrote this in an article a couple of months, well, maybe a month or two ago in Money Marketing. Somebody actually commented the same kind of thing on my LinkedIn post about today's episode. And the whole point was that, I think we should really, I always want to say congratulate the client for taking an interest, for taking action, for really taking their planning serious, and for doing this, because it means that we can have a richer, more meaningful discussion, because they now have information that they didn't have before, and they have questions that they didn't have before. And they might push back finally on some of the advice that we give them, because I believe that's a great thing. If people just want to push back on that, that'll be fantastic. But I think that's really what we want to do, right? So I think we need to sort of have a look at, sort of just a very simple process that we can do is just listen, to what they have to say and what they have to share, to stay open and not take it personal or not let it affect you in any way. And also use as an opportunity to educate yourself and the client, obviously. And then to also then maybe it's an opportunity to explain your professional duty, and to also then invite ongoing webinars. So ongoing dialogue rather. So if you think about a bit of an idea, so if I can just give you sort of, let's say, listen, tell me what you found, just invite them, tell me what you found. You can acknowledge to say, well, I'm glad you brought it to me. Like, again, well done. This is brilliant. I love when my clients do this. Like, be open to that. Explore a little bit with them, right? So ask them what stood out to you. What were you thinking of doing? And because those things really open up, like, what are they thinking? I mean, this is amazing. For the first time, somebody's going to be open to really talk about what they are thinking, and sort of what they maybe want to try, etc. And then obviously it might be necessary to contextualize. So that may be true in general, we can say to them, but in your case, we also need to look at. So again, that generic sort of, it's usually a generic kind of setup, or generic information. So that is correct in most cases, but in your case, blah, blah, blah. And then how do we guide them? Would be to say, let us work out whether this actually fits your goals and plan. Right. So I think just as a summary on this part is, do not belittle the source. Doesn't matter who it is, whether it's a finfluencer, whether it's an AI, doesn't matter. Never mock the client. I mean, sort of, that goes without saying. And most of all, don't become defensive. Right. So I'm reiterating a little bit of what I've already said, but this is really important. So it's important to bring the discussion always back to the client's goals and sort of their risks and their reality, because you'll have a bit more context than any of the other tools or any of the other things. And even the client themselves sometimes forget about small little things that maybe you've put in place already and they sort of forgot about. So a very important thing here is that you, as the financial planner or advisor, do not need to beat the internet, so-called. You need to help the client think better than the internet, right? And really make it work for them. So, I mean, what do you do sort of throughout this process to make this better, right? Because we can complain about what's happening and all of that, but it's not going to change anything. I think you need to decide what is your stance on AI and be better at communicating, and also how are you educating clients? Because the one thing that always amazed me is that, oh, look at these oaks talking on. Why are we not talking online? Why are we not on there sharing with people like, this is what you should do? This is sort of the proper process. This is what we do for our clients. This is how we help tell client stories. Obviously, just remove the names to protect the innocent. But you need to share those things. If you are quiet, you can't complain, right? You've got to get involved. You've got to also contribute, because at the moment, the influencers, call them, are creating content. What's feeding the internet? What's feeding the AI? It's what they are saying online. So we better make sure that we get our voices out there as well. Some of the things that we definitely need to be doing is use plainer language, right? Don't use jargon, don't use technical terms, don't sound fancy. Just use plain language. Like, I think I've hopefully spoken in such plain language today, just to give you a sense of just have a conversation with someone. Also, we need to explain recommendations more clearly, and this was a big talking point yesterday in my session. And it's not an easy thing to do, because we feel like compliance is requiring of us to do so many things, and then I need to, but it overwhelms the client, right? The client can't keep up. The client can't really make sense of all of this. So how do you distill that and share the most important things to the client and what they need to understand, and then share the rest of the information maybe in another way via an email or videos or something else? Also, we can test, or we can teach clients how to test the advice that they get online. What are the things what are the types of questions they should be asking? What are the things that they should be doing in order to protect themselves from that point? Then also, I think, have a process, like, how are you going to react? What are you going to say? How are you going to invite them in? So everything that I spoke about now can be put into a little bit of a process, so that you don't get caught off guard when somebody takes out the ChatGPT financial planning advisory report, right? And then I think on your own end, use AI to save time and to prep for your meetings and even process the meetings. We showed the other day in our Copilot training how we built an agent that checks a transcript of a meeting and identify any psychological or psychology-based triggers that we might have missed, opportunities and things that clients might say that we can link back to, small little things like that we typically don't pick up on or make notes of. So you can really use AI to empower yourself and to be better, have better conversations with clients and more pertinent conversations, and use their own words back to them. So that's something that you can also do. Also then, just make sure that we protect our client data properly. We know how important that is. And I think the way that you can make your value more visible is through clarity and structure and accountability. And again, positioning everything that we need to do as a benefit to the client. Do not see it as regulation or compliance or anything like that. I honestly believe that the future will belong to advisors who do not fear these tools, and who do not worship these tools for that matter as well, but the ones that know exactly where human judgment still matters the most. So that's it for today's episode. All right. So for a change, we finished a little bit early and not late. We've had a few late episodes. But on that note, hopefully you can do with a few more minutes on your Friday. Thank you very much. So we won't be live next week. Lene said we'll see you next week. We are not live next week because it is a Workers' Day. So we are not live next Friday. We'll be back the week thereafter. But yeah, until then, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for all the comments and all of that. Thank you for sharing this with others and for subscribing. We really appreciate it. But until next time, please stay safe, be blessed and prosper. Stay curious. Thanks for joining us on Propulsion. If you found value in today's episode, then there's plenty more where this came from. You can find all our previous episodes right here on the podcast, as well as on our YouTube channel. And talking about the YouTube channel, we go live every single Friday at 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. and we host many different guests, and we also talk about very interesting topics. And on the live show, there's also some incredible segments hosted by some of the most well-known and influential financial planning professionals. So you are most welcome to join us every single Friday. Put it in your diary and we will see you there. And on that note, also please do check out propulsion.co.za/community for all of the goodness and learn more about how you can become part of our amazing community and how that would benefit you, your business, and your career. So on that note, stay curious and keep raising the bar.